Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at McFarlane's DC Multiverse Collector's Edition, Mr. Terrific. This guy is part of the 8th wave of Collector's Edition figures. I saw he was in stock at Walmart.com, so I ordered one from there. There's also a platinum version of this guy. I believe he has black mask or face paint, a little bit different painted pants. I'm on the hunt for that guy as well. If anybody can help me out, drop me a line in the comments below. In the meantime, let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts. McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus. DC Multiverse, Mr. Terrific. McFarlane Collector's Edition. Here he is in the package. We have one alternate hand, 3 different faces, collector's card, display stand, energy effect, and then his little balls. One side of the package, Collector's Edition, Mr. Terrific from JSA. This is the 27th figure in the Collector's Edition subline. Other side, Mr. Terrific. At the bottom, there's his barcode, if that helps anybody. And at the back side, here he is posed up from the comics. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out. He has a display stand, a collector's card, one alternate hand, 3 different faces, a couple of T-spheres with energy around them. Before dealing with all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Mr. Terrific. His real name is Michael Holt. He's sort of a genius. They say he has a natural aptitude for having natural aptitudes, physical and mental. He's perfect in every way. Before he began being a superhero, he already had 14 PhDs. He's an expert at martial arts, physics, chemistry, all that stuff. So at one point, his wife and unborn child both died, and he blamed himself because his wife was late to church because he had an argument with her about how pointless religion is. And as he was thinking about killing himself, the Spectre intervened, met with him. He was eventually inspired by the original Golden Age Mr. Terrific and became a superhero himself. He runs Holt Industries. He made this thing called T-spheres, and they can pretty much do anything you can imagine. In addition to that, he's a pretty good physical hero himself. Now this is his most recent look with the red mask. I'm more familiar with the other version, but it's not that different. So let's take a closer look. I'll start with his face. It looks pretty good. He's got paint on his face in the letter T. Go figure, huh? His jacket feels nice. It's made of, it looks like a leather jacket, and this looks just like the material that this type of jacket would be made out of. It allows complete articulation. This is much better than some of the other jackets they've come. I think they did a great job with this. Inside out, it looks on point. Doesn't hinder anything. Maybe it's a little bit big and bulky, but, it looks pretty nice if you ask me. And of course, you do have the option to completely remove it. It looks like it's done on the blue Beetle Booster Gold body. I can tell by the prominent abs at the top. He's going to have double jointed elbows and knees. Those boot cuffs. Still, I'd say it looks pretty good. If you want a Mr. Terrific figure, bam, here you go. Although personally, I'm more excited for the platinum version because that's what I'm more familiar with him looking like. And like I said, not that it's that different. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt, which I think looks pretty good. You got the wide eyes, the red mask or paint on his face. Hairline looks pretty good. I don't see any issue with his face here. Except I do personally prefer to have the more standard version of Mr. Terrific, but I'll get him eventually. I wanted to point out his tattoos. He has fair on his right arm and then play on his left arm. Typically, it's on the back of his jacket, and that was inspired, a little sort of slogan or saying by the Golden Age Mr. Terrific. Now, I hope the platinum version has it on the back of his jacket. Not really certain. This is something they did in, I don't know, the New 52 or Rebirth. And I prefer the traditional version, although, like I said, they're not that different. And then here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, starting off with the boring stuff. Here's his display stand, typical McFarlane stand we've seen countless times before. The only difference is this one has a silver DC at the bottom because it's part of the collector's edition. And then we have the collector's card. Mr. Terrific, collector's edition. On the back, there is a description. If you want to read that, pause now. Now let's look at his faces. He has 3 of them. One with a normal expression, one with a kind of angry expression, and one with a screaming expression. Here's a look at his first face. This one has the normal expression. And here's his second face. To me, it looks like he's maybe starting to get angry, starting to have an angry expression. Here's his third face. This is the angry, screaming expression. And I think it's kind of odd. I believe the Platinum one has this face in the package, which would make sense if it was an evil version of Mr. Terrific, but it's not. And in case you were curious what it looks like with no face on, there you go. So here are his T-spheres. One is an energy shield, two are just sort of floating around, and one he's gripping. Now the T-spheres can do about anything you can imagine. They can make holograms, they can communicate, they can hack computers, they can make energy shields, they can shoot, they can go at high speeds, they can ram stuff. Some say they have their own artificial intelligence and they're connected to Mr. Terrific. They can pretty much do whatever the story needs them to do. So here are Mr. Terrific's balls. Here he is, cupping his balls. I guess you're supposed to take these guys and sort of put them around his wrists. They're floating around. I love how each one has the T on it. I remember one of the older figures, maybe Mattel, you could sort of plug it into his back and it could be floating next to him. I was hoping these would do something similar. And then here he is, with a T-sphere making an energy shield, blocking damage in front of him. You can attach it to his hand or his wrist. In fact, you can attach it to other figures in case he sends the T-sphere to defend them. Now let's look at his jacket. And I'm pretty impressed with this thing. The quality feels very good. You don't have any strings or stitching, no BS like that. The inside's decent. You can see where it would sort of zip up at the top. Has that leather jacket look to it. No wrinkles. It's a little bit bulky, maybe right here. But whatever, if it was too tight, it would probably look bad and hinder the articulation. They did a great job of balancing everything. Very, very nice jacket. Like I said, hope the Platinum one has a saying on the back. And then here he is, with the jacket attached. All things considered, I think it looks pretty good. The jacket itself looks good. A little bit big and baggy on him. But I think they did a good job balancing the look and the functionality. Now I want to check out the differences and reuse between Mr. Terrific here and Blue Beetle. Now the Blue Beetle Booster Gold body, they've used on a ton of sort of generic figures. And I don't mind it that much, but there's a couple things that bother me. The prominent top two abs that are disconnected from the bottom ones is just very noticeable. The wrists are a little bit awkward. And then that boot cut, which they have a better boot cut with Deadman that they refuse to use ever again. I do not know why. Sometimes I have a little bit of trouble standing these guys up. As a whole, it's a good blank body. With one or two slight modifications, it could be really easily reused and not noticed as much. Anyway, let's check them out. So, obviously the heads are totally different. The torso seems to be the same. You can see those two abs I talked about. The stomach seems to be the same. The diaper is different. The arms, they look to be the same to me, all the way down to the fists. And the legs down to the boots are the same. So it looks to be 100% the same figure, except a different head, different diaper, different paint job, a bunch of different accessories. And you know what? I think it works for me. It's a decent looking Mr. Terrific, and it's a pretty good looking Blue Beetle. I currently have 24 figures utilizing the Blue Beetle Booster Gold body. I still don't have the Platinum version of the Justice League Task Force Flash, the Platinum version of this Mr. Terrific, and then the black and white accent of Blue Beetle, which might actually just ship today, giving us a total of 27 figures utilizing this body, and I'm sure they're not done yet. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing about 6.9 inches tall, which can translate to around 17.5 centimeters. And for his articulation, starting with his head, he can rotate side to side. He can look up and down about that much. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint goes up more than 90 degrees. Up, down, around. He's got this butterfly ring between his shoulder and chest, increasing the range of motion, and more importantly, covering the giant gap that would be there. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows. His wrist can rotate, and it's hinged as well. Torso is a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one in his waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, very good range of motion. Legs completely does the splits, McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is very good on him. Legs go forward about that far. Back not much. Double jointed knees. And then his ankle. forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and toe articulation. Here's like a Mr. Terrific in an alleyway, spheres floating around him. Now let's check him out. Next is with our action figures. And I don't have any other Mr. Terrific figures. I know Mattel made one, pretty sure DC Direct did also. Eventually I'll have the Planet version of this, and then I'll have two Mr. Terrific figures. And Mr. Terrific is in the upcoming James Gunn Superman movie, so you know McFarlane's going to make a figure of that in the fairly near future. And let's start off by checking him out with some other Collector's Edition figures. This guy is part of Series 8. So here's the McFarlane Collector's Edition Wave 1. Every single Collector's Edition figure has a Platinum Chase variant. Here are both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of the first appearance Superman, the Abyss, and Alan Scott Green Lantern. And here's the second wave of Collector's Edition figures, both regular and Platinum versions of Firestorm, Hawkman, and Sinestro. Then, the third wave of Collector's Edition figures, we have the Death and Return of Superman, Captain Carrot, Batman as Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman. Here's the fourth wave. This wave consisted of Penguin, Starfire, and Captain Boomerang. And here's the fifth wave of McFarlane Collector's Edition figures, both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of Sergeant Rock, Connor Kent Superboy, and Manga Batman. Here's the sixth wave of Collector's Edition figures, both versions of the Red Hood, Clock King and Dr. Time, Ragman, and Agent Liberty. And finally, here's the seventh wave of McFarlane Collector's Edition figures, both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of the Dark Knight Returns Batman, Huntress, and some Green Lantern Corps members. We have Tomar Ray, Evan Sewer, Arcus, Chumuk, and the Green Man. And then here's Wave 8 of the Collector's Edition. We have both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of Lightning Lad, Simon Baugh's Green Lantern, Geoforce, and Grid, and the regular version of Mr. Terrific. I currently have 9 of the 12 figures in this wave. I still need the Platinum Mr. Terrific, and both versions of the Chris Reeve Superman. Walmart started shipping out the Chris Reeve Superman. I wish I'd pre-ordered from there. Wave 9 of Collector's Edition is supposed to be Power Girl, Guy Gardner, and Captain Cold. I imagine the pre-orders for those will go up this month. Can't wait to see the Platinum versions, especially Captain Cold. Now let's check him out. Next is some recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the Justice League Task Force wave. Batman, Superman, The Flash, and Aquaman, collectible Darkseid. Each of these 4 figures has a Platinum Chase variant, and I'm on the hunt for all 4. Here's Mr. Terrific, next to the Batman Beyond Batman that came with the Batmobile, and the GameStop exclusive Frostbite Nightwing. And here he is, next to the Planet Ron Swamp Thing Mega figure. And here he is, next to the Amazon exclusive Court of Owls 3-pack. And now, with the McFarlane Toy Store exclusive Ray Fogel Batman. Here's Mr. Terrific, next to the Batman vs. Superman wave. Both versions of the Nightmare Batman, both versions of the Superman, Doomsday, Wonder Woman, and all 3 versions of the Armored Batman. And here he is, next to the Zack Snyder's Justice League, Armored Darkseid with Throne. Then, with the 3rd digital wave, Speed Force Flash, Earth 2 Robin, and both versions of the Silver Age Joker. And now, with the Amazon exclusive Arkham City Detective Mode Batman vs. Solomon Grundy 2-pack. And finally, with some more McFarlane Toy Store exclusives, we have the Nightmare version of the Vampire Batman, and both versions of Jonah Hex. Now let's check them out. Next is some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how Mr. Terrific fits in, both scale and style-wise. In case you want to know which lines you can mix them with, since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the large action figure lines I collect, and work way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale, and now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures, and some Devon Select toys. Here's Mr. Terrific, next to a container of seasoned salt, and here he is, with some DC Direct and NECA figures. Then, with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures, and now, with some Mezco and Mattel DC figures. Next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends, and finally, with some SH Figure Arts and Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, I think it's a pretty nice Mr. Terrific figure. I don't really have much of a problem with the blue Beetle Boo School body, as it works. Paint job's good, jacket's good, interchangeable faces, it's all there. I wouldn't mind some different versions of the T-Sphere. Don't get me wrong, they gave us 4 of them. They gave us plenty. But I wouldn't mind some sort of like a flight stand for them. I think the figure looks good. Sculpt and paint job. I have minor issues with the Blue Beetle body, but it's pretty good for Mr. Terrific. The jacket's fantastic. The accessories on point. This is what a collector's edition figure should be. Ton of different faces, different hands, accessories, removable clothing, all that stuff. If I were to rate this guy, I want to give him an 8, but I think I'm going to sort of land it at 7.5. Just a couple of minor issues with the body, and the fact that the regular version is the newer version of Mr. Terrific, and I much prefer the Platinum version, which is the more traditional version. Not that he's an old school hero by any means. Still, it's a nice release. So happy to add him to the collection, happy to add him to the Justice League of America, happy to add him to the Justice Society of America, and a welcome addition to the McFarlane. So this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say to the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.